What's cracking, y'all? Welcome back to the station. Welcome back to the channel. Y'all know what it is. It's your boy, Ray G. You can find me on X at RayGQ. It's Thursday, so y'all know what it is. You're tapping in because it's Trinity Talk time. That's what we do on Thursdays, taking a look at the wide receivers and the things that they do inside of their offenses to help them score fantasy points on their own team and how they compare against the rest of their league mates, not only in this season, but historically. We've been looking at a litany of different data points and different wide receiver metrics, but we have figured out a way to package all of those things into one, testing each one of those metrics individually against fantasy scoring, looking at them against value, expected fantasy points, all of that stuff. And we've created the Trinity Score, and we are very, very close to releasing that to the public to play around with, to test, to do your own data dive very soon, hopefully next week on DestinationDevy.com. But I do have a sample of it today. We got V1 of the Trinity Tracker up on, not on the website, but I got it up right here. I'm just going to show you a little bit of this information as we move forward. It's updated every single week, and this is something that I think is going to help a lot of people out. And again, tested each metric against fantasy success, and against R squared, 0.7498 was the correlation. So it is a predictive score. Is it the most predictive thing on earth? No, but when you start diving in the data, you can kind of see some very clear and obvious trends. So let's pull up the Trinity Tracker right now. And again, this is not on the website. This is not finished at this point in time. We are still early beginning stages of making sure this thing is the way we need it. We've got some more filters we want to add to it. But here we go. So let's just start with, again, where all of this came from. Looking at these isolated metrics on their own, I was just noticing a pattern of players who do certain things and perform certain ways in their offenses, and a pattern for fantasy success. And when you look at this chart, Trinity Score in one season versus their points per game for the following season, you can really get an idea and tell that, look at the cluster. It's nice and tight. They're all together, and it's an upward trend. Yes, you've got some outliers up here. That's Deebo Samuel right here. You got Kupp way up here. You got Devontae Adams up here. But for the most part, this is pretty tight, and you see a pretty nice linear progression of upward performances from the wide receivers from 2018 through 2021, and then the points per game from 2019 through 2022. So just at the foundation point of Trinity Score, what you don't want to see is plots all over the place, just dots everywhere. You see a nice clean upward chart showing you that this is a pretty predictive score for fantasy success at the wide receiver position. So we're going to go to the Trinity Score versus points per game, and this is just for this season. So remember, normally we filter by targets. We do all these things. You'll be able to come on the website and just run a quick report. And this is Trinity Score versus point per game. Well, actually, let's pull up the report. So you could run the report for 12 players, 10 players, top 5, top 50, however you want to do it. And you'll see Tyreek Hill leads the league in Trinity Score, 9.78, which is absolutely ridiculous. We've got his wins above replacement value right here at 0.34. That's per game WAR. His fantasy points per game, 26.8. Expected, right around 20. So he's just going nuclear, almost 7 points over expected. And we've added keep trade cut value just to see which one of these Trinity receivers the community is higher on, lower on, help you identify some windows very easily of players that you could potentially go buy. So you could run the report and just look at everything nice and clean right here, or really dive into the data and take a look at what we have going on. So here we go. Trinity versus points per game in 2023. So let's talk about the players who are actually doing the damage for us right now in fantasy football. And you see, and I believe, let me make this a little bit smaller for us. There we go. We'll put it right about there. You'll see right here at the top of the screen, we already know who the top player is. It's Tyreek Hill, 9.78 Trinity Score. And look at that regression line. I mean, clear over that. And we know he's scoring about 7 points more than what he's expected to do. But we ran what makes and constitutes an elite wide receiver versus a back-end wide receiver 2s, and wide receiver 3s based on historical Trinity Score data. And I know you'll look at this and be like, man, so everybody to the left of a Trinity Score of about, 6.9 is considered a wide receiver 3 from a scoring perspective. Sort of, kind of. Now, you see this outlier here. Kupp, 23.8 points per game. This is season-long Trinity Score, not point per game. So he's only played in a couple of games, 2-3 games? So he will be moving up here every single week. That's why he's way up here. The outlier, something should be wrong. You look at that and you're like, yeah, this isn't right. He's scoring damn near 24 points a game. How's the score so low? Well, he's only played a couple of games and he's already up here. So this is season long. We're looking at what these guys have done through the season versus the rest of the league. So Kupp will work his way over there in the next couple of games. But you look back here, and let's just pull up, and we'll have this thing when it's all done. You could filter by the player so you don't have to look for it. This is version 1. But you can see Mike Williams here, Jalen Waddle. A lot of people like him, but Waddle's scoring you 13 fantasy points per game right now, above the regression line, trying to work his way up. But ultimately, he is not producing at the level to be considered what we may want him to be for fantasy football purposes, right? Josh Reynolds down here. You've got a Cortland Sutton, Tutu Atwell. Like, you look at this and they're like, okay, these are good players, but I can see how, man, they're not doing exactly what we kind of want them to do. There's Calvin Ridley below the regression line, below that line, decent Trinity score, but the points per game, 12.5 points per game. So you look at Ridley versus, was it Jalen Waddle that we were looking at right here? So Ridley's doing a little bit more as far as target share, yards, all of that stuff. He's doing a little more damage as the receiver, but not scoring the points. So he should get closer. You would hope for his points per game to go up, given the fact that he is doing a decent amount of work as far as the things that encompass this score, but you want to get that a little bit higher. So Calvin Ridley, potentially a player who can have some positive regression as we go. You see Jacoby Myers up here with a decent Trinity score of 6.76, giving you 17.5 fantasy points per game. So this does not mean Jacoby Myers is a wide receiver 3, but historically at the end of the season, when you look at all of this stuff, this is normally where these pockets fall, and it's very similar to WAR. If you've gone and used the WAR tool over on Destination Devy, you see the trend lines where it's tight at the top, and then things just start to flatten out, and that's what this means. This doesn't mean that all these players are bums, but they're all kind of the same right now. There's not a big difference between Jordan Addison and Tutu Atwell. One scoring you 11.8, other scoring you 12.3. They both have similar Trinity scores. There's not a lot of difference in the actual production, yet we have Trinity Score versus Keep Trade Cut Value, which helps you understand. And when you're looking at these scores, and you may have somebody that's scoring you a ton of points, right? Kupp, this guy, T. Higgins, Jackson Smith and Jigba, these are your outliers. These are JSN, player who is not doing much from a Trinity perspective. Not a lot of yards, not a lot of yak, not a lot of air yards, none of that stuff. But his value, people still really like JSN. So he's got high or, moderately high keep trade cut value. Conversely, on this same page, you go down here, DeAndre Hopkins, Trinity score 8.13, but look at that value. Nobody wants DeAndre Hopkins. Who's this guy? Kendrick Bourne, decent Trinity score, but nobody wants Kendrick Bourne. We stay in the same pocket. There's the Ridleys. Who else do we have in here? Christian Kirk, Chris Godwin, Jacoby Myers, Adam Thielen, right? Pretty good Trinity stuff. 7.24 keep trade cut value, 2,900. Nobody wants Adam Thielen. So this is how you can kind of potentially spot some players that you can buy or sell just based on community sentiment and feeling on these players. Like this one right here, T. Higgins. And I know he's missed time. We talked about this thing being an accumulation of the season, but a very, a pretty decent keep trade cut value. But look at the score, sub 5 Trinity for T. Higgins, and you can kind of filter this data out on the tracker and just do it right here. If you just wanted to look at the guys, I don't feel like going there. And again, once the final version is up, it'll be a lot easier to just search for Kupp's name instead of scrolling this over. Just want to give you a taste of what this is. But you can just actually go in here and filter out the data, right? You can just filter out the data. You can filter it. I want to know how many people are scoring between. If you wanted to see some buy low potential guys, 9 points and, 15 points, whatever it is. Filter it out. And then you could take a look at, all right, there's Garrett Wilson there. Let's filter it out now. Josh Reynolds high, decent points per game. There's the Trinity there. Filter it by Trinity and find the ones that you may want to take some bets on. So we just do that. We filtered it out. Marquise Brown, we've talked about him. High Trinity score, point per game a little bit low. Right? So this is how you can kind of use this tool. Where's the odd man in here? Of all of these players, close your eyes. Amari Cooper, Chris Olave, Zay Flowers, Hollywood Brown, DK Metcalf, Christian Kirk, Chris Godwin, Calvin Ridley, Deebo Samuel, Kendrick Bourne, Tyler Lockett, Drake London. Wait. Who? Kendrick Bourne. Yes, the name that sticks out like a sore thumb. Kendrick Bourne with a better Trinity score number than Ridley, Deebo, Lockett. Worse offense. We get that. But he's scoring relatively the same amount of points as these guys. So this is where you could go ahead and find a pocket of maybe a player you can get thrown into a trade that can help you score and produce some fantasy points. Fantasy points over expected. This is a really, really good one. And when you pull the Trinity chart up, again, expected points per game versus their score. So you go right here. You roll up to the top. Cooper Kupp, there it is. So based on his score, his fantasy points over expected, way up there, right? Expected 18.6. We know Cooper Kupp is scoring us 24 points. But because this is so high, this just, again, in the context around it, you got to use context. He hasn't played. So this right here is kind of irrelevant. You throw him out, but you take a look at some of these guys. Like here it is, T. Higgins right here, 4.88 expected points per game, 13.3. So he's a little bit above that regression line looking at these two plots together. So just another way that you can use this tool. And again, if you don't want to use the chart, just go right over here and filter it out. Take that filter off so everything is open and see. So T. Higgins producing right now is expected 13.3 fantasy points. He is going below that by almost 5 fantasy points, almost 5 points per game. T. Higgins is not getting it done. And you can scroll over, you see air yard share is fine, but the target share is the problem. 15.1%, 15.5% for Higgins. It's just not going to cut it when you're talking about Trinity and the things that actually matter in scoring points. And then you can go over expected. Who's overproducing that may scare you a little bit? There's DJ Moore, 8.4 over expected points per game. His expected points per game are 11.6, and he's giving you almost 19. So let's just take a look at this, right? Air yard share, 40%, dope. Target share, 24%. That's fine. Yak per reception, great at 7.5. So let's go here. Trinity versus expected, and let's find DJ Moore. And again, once the real tool is done, you'll be able to just quickly just filter that out. Where's DJ Moore? I think he's like an 8. Trinity score something of 8. Where's DJ Moore? Over expected fantasy points. I can't find him on the damn thing right now, but you get the point of what you can kind of do. And when it's all done, you'll be able to come in here and easily identify where the hell he's at. But where's his score? Where's DJ? DJ Moore, 8.79, expected 11.6, 8.4 over. So let's go 8, 9 and see if we can find him. 8, where the hell are you at, DJ Moore? He's somewhere over here. He's somewhere in this range. Garrett Wilson, over. I'm all under the thing. I can't find DJ Moore right now, but you get the idea and the point of what you can do once this damn thing is done, and we can filter it out by team, by player. We went through WAR, Trinity Score versus WAR. So looking at the players, and this gets even tighter. This really, really zeroes it in and gets even tighter. There's Cooper Kupp out here, the clear outlier, right? The clear outlier. Look at his WAR per game is on par with Adam Thielen. It's on par with Justin Jefferson. It's on par with Keenan Allen. It's right there with Stephon Diggs. So he is actually winning you weeks right away, right out of the gate. So you kind of remove him from the subset. But look at all this. This is where it flatlines, right? Josh Reynolds' WAR, 0.09 versus Tank Dell, 0.07 versus Gabe Davis, 0.07. Mike Williams, 0.12. He's out for the year. Ridley, 0.07. So he's even below his Trinity score. He should be impacting your rosters even more, but he's below that regression line. So it tightens everything up even more. So looking at Trinity, overlaid on WAR, with historical data back to 2018, and then their value from a keep, trade, cut perspective, this is everything you need in order to identify which receivers you need to buy, which receivers you need to sell. Are there any good bets that you can make? Or which receivers you don't need to freaking argue about in a deal because you know they don't matter. There's not a big difference between freaking Tyler Boyd and Nick Westbrook-Akine. There's just not. Besides the offense, you go into the offense, pass attempts, maybe there's more opportunity. Osborne and Braxton Berry, like Wan'Dale Robinson, we like these guys, right? We like them, and if you could tell yourself a story as to how their score continues to go up and that point per game is going to go up, then we can find some value. But this is how you'll be able to utilize this tool on the website. There's Jacoby Myers right there, Adam Thielen, high Trinity score in the WAR per game. Actually helping you win those weeks. So hopefully very, very soon we'll be able to dive into this. But let's just look at some of the Trinity Score data right now and try to identify some of those players so we can do the same thing that we do on some of the other sites, right? You could do some of the same type of stuff. Let's just filter this out by lowest Trinity Score. Let's look at the players who are truly not mattering that may be some nice sell candidates for us in fantasy. And there you go. Rashad Bateman, Trinity Score of 1. Getting you about 3.6 points per game. He's expected to give you 5. So maybe he can give you a little bit more. Keep trade cut value is low. Air yard share is low. Target share is low. Yak per reception is low. So this is a player that, listen, if somebody asked for your Rashad Bateman, I wouldn't be tripping about trying to move him. Like, it is what it is. He's not doing the things to earn you valuable points, right? What's his Trinity Score? A 1? Let's go there. Let's just go to Trinity Score versus points per game. Where are you, Rashad Bateman? There's Paris Campbell right there. Zay Jones, Terrace Marshall, everybody on that damn screen right around this area right here. Rashad Bateman, look at that. Trinity Score of 1. I mean, it's above the regression line, but the only players worse, DPJ and damn Van Jefferson. Like, why are you arguing over Rashad Bateman? If somebody wants him in a deal, if that's what helps you get it done, then you move Rashad Bateman. Juju Smith-Schuster, just a bum. Just a bum at this point. Alec Pierce, no hope there. OBJ, that's who Lamar's passing to. There's his number 2 option. There's his number 3 option. And then you got Zay Flowers down the board a little bit more. Jahan Dotson, look at his score. 2.31, giving you 6.2 fantasy points per game. Let's just scroll down and take a look at what Zay Flowers is doing. What inside of this? I mean, not Zay Flowers, excuse me. Who was that? Who was that we were looking at? Is that not Zay Flowers? Who was that? Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, OBJ, Alec Pierce, Juju, Parker, Palmer. Like, these are just guys. These are just guys. So I don't think there's anybody I identify in this range as a buy, but there are definitely some candidates that you could move off of. And I wouldn't have a problem moving off of any of them. Sky Moore, you see that right here as well. 2.18 Trinity Score. You know, he's not scoring you a lot of fantasy points per game, expected 7. And then you just look at the other things that in which he's not doing. I mean, what is this? Target share, 12.5%. I mean, air yard share, 12.5%. Target share, 9%. 4 yards per route, 4 yards per catch after the reception. Like, this just is not all these guys. Dotson, Cooks, Mingo, Tony. I know our beloved JSN, and you see the difference here, right? That keep trade cut value is still very high. So there's still a lot of positive sentiment on JSN. And the reality is, I know that he had 4 catches for 48 yards last week. So there is a little bit of hope, and he's a first-round pick rookie, so there's some opportunity there. Let's go Trinity Score. Let's actually go fantasy points over expected. Who's underproducing right now so let's find somebody who's underproducing, negative or below 0 or very, very low after 0, higher than 0, but have a decent Trinity Score. So these are other ways you can do that. Robert Woods, not very great. So let's just scroll down and see if we can find a decent score here. DeAndre Hopkins. We always talk about him, right? 8.13 Trinity Score, yet he is below, 2 points below his expected fantasy points, and he's doing a lot of stuff, right? Air yard share, super high. Target share, almost 30%. Not a lot of yak, but these two will keep him afloat. The context of this one is we know that the Tennessee passing offense is pretty bad, and Ryan Tannehill is out now or potentially going to be out. So even though this is high, it's sort of where you still have to use some context here. I'd rather 20% in Miami's offense over 40% in this Tennessee offense. So although the score is high, I'd be very cautious on this one. I don't know how much higher he's going to get. He's only expected 12.8 fantasy points per game. So 13 fantasy points is what he's expected. He's giving you about 11. Here goes one, though. If you could somehow still get a Chris Olave. And, you know, you're like, oh, right, Chris Olave, I mean, he's already valued high. Maybe not, because right now he's only scoring about 13 fantasy points per game. He's expected about 15, so he's negative fantasy points over expected. But look at that Trinity, 7.72. 7.72 is very, very good. It's the highest that we've seen inside of here, yet he's not even hitting those those fantasy points. So we come back over here, and I guarantee you he's below this line. Is it 7-7? Where are you at, Olave? There's Pittman, Brown, Flower. There he is, Chris Olave. So he's in the range of damn near back-end wide receiver 1 historically on the season, but he's below that regression line. This tells me, just looking at the data without even looking at the chart, he's one that should, if Derek Carr can get his stuff together, start to rise back up. CeeDee Lamb, another one of those guys, underproducing a little bit, scoring you about 15 fantasy points per game, and I'm pretty sure he should come up a little bit after Chris Olave. So there's Olave, negative expected fantasy points. Hollywood Brown, we've been talking about him on this show since the beginning of Trinity Talk time, and now potentially he's got Kyler Murray coming back. So hopefully you got you some Hollywood Brown while it was still a possibility. Let's go to the next page. I'm pot committed now, so I want to see what else we have on here. Let's go page 2. Page 2, if it will move. If it'll move, or if I know what I'm doing. There we go. Move that damn thing over. So we're still in expected fantasy points. Jamar Chase right at 0. So he's giving you what he's expected right now for Jamar Chase. He's right on that 0 line. And then you could filter this thing out and look at the players who are overproducing, right? We're looking at the ones for some buys. Where are some sell candidates? And we talked about DJ Moore at the beginning of the show. I mean, 8 points over expected with no potentially Justin Fields. This could be a little murky for DJ Moore. Now, high Trinity score, he's doing the things in order to score points, but we know the quarterback situation is a little bit rough right now. Here's Adam Thielen. We know what's going on there in that situation. Again, without even having the Trinity score, we identified Adam Thielen a month ago. So if you've been tapping into the show, you already have Adam Thielen. You bought him for nothing, and he's killing for your fantasy teams. I mean, you look at WAR per game. Where's Adam Thielen at? WAR per game, Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen. Look at that. I mean, this is of all the players at the wide receiver position that are truly helping you win weeks, wins above replacement value, the only players better than Adam Thielen are Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, and Tyreek Hill. So just incredible find, incredible value, and we did that all through the Trinity score. Let's go again. Let's look at anybody else over-expected that may be, get Michael Wilson, Michael Wilson. Top 10 over-expected. He's supposed to give you about 5.7. He's giving you about 10 points per game. So be mindful if you're out there purchasing some Michael Wilson. You got Curtis Samuel, 3 points over-expected. Ayuk, Amon-Ra, pretty much giving you what he's supposed to give you. There's Amon-Ra right there, about 3 points over-expected. These are good players. There's CeeDee Lamb. So CeeDee Lamb's right there, points per game. It's expected about 12.9 based on Dak's poor performance earlier. He's giving you 14.9. So this should go up as the Dallas Cowboys continue to play better. But this is how you'll be able to use this. This is Trinity. You could run the report, look at it very easily without doing your own digging. Look at these players versus the community consensus on how they are valued in Dynasty. And like there's a guy right here, Josh Reynolds, right? We know his Trinity is pretty high. He's scoring you decent points. Nobody wants Josh Reynolds. Look how low he is on the Keep Trade Cut value chart. Who are these? Nelson Aguilar, Robert Woods. Nobody wants Darius Slayton, Gallup. There's Kendrick Bourne. We highlighted him. That's Hopkins, Thielen, raising up a little bit, but Mike Evans. Like, these are the values. And who's that? Justin freaking Jefferson. Of course, it's Justin Jefferson right there. So coming out of week 6 and looking at the data, looking at players who I'd be potentially trying to acquire or move, DJ Moore is one that I'm fine with having DJ Moore. But with no Fields, Tyson Bagent, what he was producing over expected with Justin Fields, like that's one that I'm trying to see if I could tear down off of DJ Moore. No Fields, it's just a problem. We'll see what they do next year, but for the immediate season, I'm a little concerned about DJ Moore dropping back down and pulling back tighter to that regression line that we saw on the point per game versus Trinity. Is there anybody else on here that I think is a decent value buy and or sell? Over expected. I mean, Michael Wilson, what are you actually going to sell him for? I don't know how much you can actually fetch for him on the open market. AJ Brown, Jordan Addison, Khalif Raymond, Sutton, Terry McLaurin. Interesting. Not a high value. People like him, but yeah, there we go. This is the Trinity Tool, the Trinity Tracker. Should be good to go next week. Very excited about this one, and I think you all will get a lot of value over digging into this and really taking a look at, the progression of these players. And we're back here to the very beginning, the start of this thing, testing it. We're talking about it being predictive, so prove it. And you start to follow some of these trends. And I know he's over here. There's Cooper Kupp, right? 2018, his Trinity score was 5, but look at the points per game in 2019, 16.9. And then the next season is somewhere in here. I can't find it, but I know he's up here for, there he is, 2020. So we're right here with Cooper Kupp, 2018 score, 2019 points per game. There's 2020 score, and then 2021 points per game. So somewhere in there's another Cooper Kupp, but the progression just continues, right? And then he's over here somewhere. There he is, 2021, 2022. So even though he pulled closer to the regression line from this season, 2020 to 2021, with the high Trinity score, the following season, we know he scored a lot of points per game, right? Because that Trinity score was so freaking high, and he continued to do the things in 2021 from a score perspective, even more targets, more air yards, more yak, which in turn, high point per game finish. So this is how the natural progression of these things should go with some of these players. And when you start diving in and you just kind of click on a name in this quadrant, a high score right here, high Trinity score guys, I guarantee they're all good. Chris Godwin, great, right? Who's this? DeAndre Hopkins, 2019 to 2020, very good. Who's this? Random. Deontay Johnson, 2020, nice Trinity score. Following year, point per game, 17.1. You were extremely happy. Let's just go right here. Random. Diggs. Yep. Random. Kenny Golladay. Look at old Kenny G. 8.53. Tricked us all. 15 points per game the next year, and then it was a wrap. McLaurin, 2019, the one season. And think about this. Look at this. McLaurin in 2019, and then 2020 is right there on that regression line. So he's not really holding firm. Like there's Diggs right there, 2019 to 2020. There's another Diggs. Where's he at? Diggs. He's all up in here. It's all Stephon Diggs in this range. There's Diggs right there. There's another Diggs. They're all clustered together. So when you really get to dive in and look at this, there's another Stephon Diggs. He has just remained there. You go to this back end, I bet you they're all bums. Jakeem Grant, no thanks. I saw Golladay. I saw another. There's Golladay. That following season, poor Trinity, poor point per game the following season. No thank you. Who's this? Randall Cobb. Rondell Moore, Mecole Hardman, Nelson Aguilar, and then we'll probably get some decent names or maybe underproducers in there. Yeah, there's Christian Kirk from 2018, 2019, Will Fuller, Gabe Davis. But point is, this is how you can test the tool, run the reports, look at the keep trade cut value, expected fantasy points per game. Be mindful of DJ Moore because we just don't know what that situation is going to look like absent Justin Fields in that offense, and stay locked in. We should be good to go next week. Very excited about this one for you all to try. You do need to be a member of Destination Devy, so go to DestinationDevy.com. Go over there. It's $9 a month. You get articles. You get the War Tool. You'll be able to access the Trinity Tracker once this is live. And try to move at DJ Moore. I would be trying to sell DJ Moore. What would I do? Tear down. See if you can get another wide receiver, an additional pick. Can you get multiple picks? Can you get 2 seconds? Could you potentially get a first for DJ Moore? Still like what he's doing in the offense, but a little questionable, a little sketchy with Tyson Bagent at quarterback. So appreciate you being here, sticking through this example of how this Trinity score is going to work, how we tested it. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I want to hear how you guys would utilize this. I was talking to JB who built this. Shout out to Jordan Backus. Follow him on Twitter. Follow all of our Destination Devy team. But I'm excited to see how you all interpret this data and how you would use this score. So thank you for being here. Appreciate y'all tapping in, and we'll see you soon on Destination Devy. We're out. Peace.